This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host, Keith Angle, on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good evening, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk, College Sports Huddle, focusing mostly on NCAA basketball. March Madness is here. Tell me how my sound is tonight, guys. I know we had some problems last Wednesday night, and I'm seeing myself in the red here. I don't know why, but hopefully we're okay. Welcome, all of you. We're going to dive into, as I said, March Madness is here. And it begins with the conference tournaments, and we're well underway. We've got teams that are already in. Gonzaga's punched their ticket, probably the number one seed in the upcoming NCAA tournament. Most likely the number one overall seed. It's definitely going to be a number one seed. We're going to take a look around the conference tournaments. We'll see some of the games that are going on currently. Hello, Kenny Gifford. Good to have you with us tonight. Give me a sound check, Kenny. I still see my mic go to red every once in a while. I'm not sure what that's all about. And I know last week we had a couple of sound issues, so hopefully we're not having those this evening. As I said, we're going to jump around the conference tournaments. We're going to look at some of the games that have been played. We'll talk about who's already in. I'll give you some of my conference picks. We'll look at the top 25. We'll look at some news around the NCAA. We'll look at the bubble as we do every Wednesday night, and we'll talk also a little bit of coaching news. So there's a lot of stuff going on around. Kenny's got me good with the sound. That's good. Any issues, let me know, guys. And if somebody wants to call in tonight, I'll run the scroll at the bottom. I know you guys like to comment, and if anybody should want to call, they can certainly do so. We're going to start trying to push call-ins a little bit more as we head towards tournament time. And I do hope to do a show. And by the way, welcome to everybody on Northeast Streaming Sports Network, obviously. Welcome to our Roku viewers. They won't see this, unfortunately, until tomorrow at noon. So some of the live aspect of this, as we talk about some of the games that are in progress. I'm watching the Butler-Xavier game right now in the Big East. And St. John's will be playing DePaul. Syracuse is already beaten up Florida State really badly today. And who knows, maybe we'll get a run out of some of our more local schools. Hey, look at Alan. I swear to God, Alan and I are on the same wavelength. Maybe too often for your good, Alan. I swear to God, I rarely see, every once in a while you'll prompt me. But I brought that up because I just happened to kind of look over at the TV, and I have it on the TV here as we're talking. Syracuse is following the Michigan coach. I don't know what happened at the end of that game. I know there was some controversy with Buddy Boeheim, maybe punching a Florida State player in the stomach. I don't know what went on. Tell me what went on at the end of that game, and we'll certainly talk more about it should we need to. Juwan Howard did, by the way, as he's come back now to the helm, as the Big Ten tournament gets ready to tip off. He's back at the helm of Michigan, and he was contrite in his news conference, admitted he was wrong, which is important. He needs to do that. But he also needs to kind of practice what he's preaching here, right? Don't just give me lip service, Juwan. A couple times now, I like what you've done as a coach, but you're a leader of these young men. So please be on top of that. Alan's talking about there only one Big 12 game today. That's correct. And I believe I actually put a little wager on DraftKings right now on Kansas State in that game. And I see that West Virginia, they've just tipped. West Virginia's up 2-0. And we'll do some of this jumping around some of the tournament and tournament games as we go forward. I hope to have a live show Sunday. I got to check what time the brackets come out. I think 5:30. Maybe it's 6:30. But we're going to come out a bit before that and be on during the selection show and talk a little bit about it. At least that's my plan. I haven't told my wife yet, so we'll see how that goes. The winner, I wouldn't say the winner gets the prize of Kansas. The winner will probably lose to Kansas in this game. It's hard to believe some of these teams are still being talked about for bubble teams. Wake Forest folded like a cheap suit. What did Wake do? Let's see. Did they see what you're talking about there, Kenny? Let me pull up the scoreboard for the ACC. Wake has lost in overtime, 82-77 to, listen, a very mediocre Boston College team. So not a good loss. And this is going to be a bad loss for Xavier here too, by the way. They were hanging by their fingernails, as far as I'm concerned, on the bubble, and they're going to be out. Wake Forest probably still in the tournament. We'll talk a little bit about that too as we go forward. We're going to jump all over the place here today. Let's just take a quick look around some of the. Let's see some of the scoreboards. It's the best way for me to do this. Let's take I don't want to do top 25. Let's just do Division I. We'll get all the scores that we've got so far. And then we're going to talk about the teams that are in. Let's take a quick look at some of the scores, and we'll catch up on these later. So Butler's about to knock off Xavier. They're up 82-74. So the Xavier probably, I can't see them in the Big East tournament right now. After this loss in the first round to Butler, can't happen. Oregon keeps their hopes alive, barely. With a win over Oregon State. Not a good Oregon State team either, by the way. And they just skipped by 3. Missouri and Ole Miss are playing. It's very close in the first half, 2-point game. I don't care that much about these games that much. Nebraska beating Northwestern in a play-in game in the Big Ten. Charlotte's tied with losing to Rice by 10. West Virginia, we talked about, they're up 6-3 now. Binghamton, we have some interest in the American East. Vermont is up very early over Binghamton, and UMBC, who we know very well, knocked off Tennessee a few years ago, the first 16 to beat a 1. They're up. They're down by 1 here early. Virginia Tech, Clemson very early. Iona's playing in the MAC tonight. Later on, we may get. Let's see, who do we get later on? Let me finish these. I want to see a couple of things. Anybody else? Syracuse, we talked about, rolled. I'd like to get some more information on what Kenny was talking about there. LaSalle beats up St. Joe's in the A10. Nevada has beaten New Mexico. Portland with a win, 82. I'm sorry, Portland State with a win, over Ohio State. None of these games are all that worthy. Wake Forest is an important game. Boston College, again, very mediocre Boston College. Not a good loss for Wake. Arizona State, who a lot of people thought might make a run. They were playing better here under Bobby Hurley. They lose in the first round to Stanford. I think Bobby Hurley is going to be in some trouble. And I'll get to your guys' comments here in a second, I promise. What else is of note here? Another A10 game. Rhode Island beats Duquesne. Out in the Mountain West, a very strong Mountain West this year. Likely to get 4 bids, depending on what happens in the tournament here. Utah State has beaten Arizona handily. Air Force handily earlier today. And then we got a bunch of games still to come. So that's where we stand right now. Let's see what we got here. Did I say Virginia? I'm not sure where did I don't remember talking about Tennessee, but that's fine. Did I say I said Virginia Tech? Hold on, you guys have got me wondering what the hell I'm talking about over here now. I have no idea. Alan, you got me. Oh, maybe I said Tennessee. I don't know. Clemson over Virginia Tech. Maybe that's what he's talking about. That's fine. What do we got here? Kenny, one team wins the tournament. The NCAA says they haven't played enough Division I yet to play in their tournament. The one team wins the tournament. The NCAA. I guess I need some more information there too, Kenny. Rick's here. I don't see Rick, but I'll say hello, Rick Sherlock. Maybe I missed your good evening. I don't know. Oh, I see. Did I say Tennessee? You're right. Sorry about that. Maybe I'm thinking about this red hot Tennessee right now. They're playing pretty good in the SEC. We'll see what they do in the tournament. You know me, I like Arkansas a lot. So let's talk about who's in. Let me see. I could put a new banner up here. Thank you for straightening me out there. Alan is kind of the ombudsman of this show. He's keeping the quality high and keeping me on my toes, which I certainly like a lot. So thank you, Alan, for that. Let's see what we got here. I want to go to, I don't know where I want to start here. Here, let's do this. Tournament watch, conference tournament watch. Let's take a look real quick here, guys, as we dive into the show, and certainly bring up any topics you guys want to talk about tonight. We're going to dive into everything. Let's look at the teams that are in already with automatic buys very quickly. As I mentioned, Gonzaga last night. We'll start with them. The latest to get in. Gonzaga with a victory over St. Mary's last night does win the West Coast Conference tournament. They're 26-3. They're probably, as I said, going to be the number one seed in the entire NCAA tournament. I find it hard to believe they would not be. They didn't necessarily roll through this tournament of theirs, but again, this is a team that is certainly capable of getting on a run and going back to the final after losing to Baylor last year. And keep those comments up. I will certainly come back. Georgia State get to the NCAA tournament in the Sun Belt for the fourth time since 2015. They're now in that game in that year, I think it was pretty famous. Their head coach at the time, Ron Hunter, famously fell off his chair as his son had a three-pointer as they ousted third-seeded Baylor, who has gone on to pretty good things since then. In the first round of that tournament. They're now coached by former Siena coach Rob Lanier, by the way, who is a cousin of former St. Bonaventure and NBA great Bob Lanier. So Rob Lanier did not have much luck here in the MAC at Siena, but he's still coaching, and that's good to see. In the Summit, South Dakota State gets that bid. Probably nothing, no surprise there. They're 30-4 overall. Chattanooga, one of Carlos's favorite schools, I believe, formerly known as Tennessee Chattanooga. The Mocs reached their first NCAA tournament since 2016, winning the Southern Conference tournament. Ohio Valley, Murray State, no surprise, one of the dark horses to potentially make a run here towards the Final Four. We'll see. Murray State 30-2. And ranked, and we'll look at the rankings here in a little bit. Where is Murray State moved to here? Murray State is all the way up to number 19. They moved up 3 spots this week, by the way. Let's see. Where was I? So Murray State wraps it up by kind of waltzing through the Ohio Valley tournament. The Northeast tournament, Bryant wins 22-9. They've made it to their first Division I tournament since 2008. Missouri Valley, Loyola Chicago, who not too many years ago made it to the Final Four out of the Horizon League. I think they were in then. I think they were in the Horizon then. And their great follower. I can't remember the nun's name. Gosh, her name's escaping me now. Alan, you'll probably straighten me out here. The Ramblers do win the conference tournament after kind of fading a little bit here late in the year. They've been ranked much of the year until the last few weeks, but they come back and win this fairly handily over Drake. And I think Drake will get a bid here as well. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But Loyola's, gosh, we remember her name. She's 103 years old now, by the way, and they showed her. She was at the game in the stands watching Chicago, the Ramblers wrap up the Missouri Valley Championship. In the Horizon, Wright State wins, gets a bid. Colonial was Delaware. fifth seed in that tournament. So again, some of these like Wright State most likely, took a bit away from Northern Kentucky, and some of these one bid conferences certainly can cause havoc here as we go through. Longwood, by the way, I had never heard of Longwood College. I don't know about you guys, but the Lancers get their first NCAA tournament bid ever by being the favored Winthrop in the Big South. So congratulations to them. And lastly, in the Atlantic Sun, Jacksonville State gets the win. Well, actually, they did not. So this is interesting. So in the Atlantic Sun, Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks actually lost in the conference semifinals, but they're advancing to the NCAA tournament on the strength of their first-placed regular season finish. That's because the conference tournament was won by Bellarmine. Oh, there you go. I think this is the one that Kenny might have been talking about, which is still in the 4-year process of reclassifying from Division II to Division I, and is thus yet not eligible for the NCAA tournament. So Jacksonville State, who won the regular season title, gets the bid. So I don't know if that's what you're talking about, Kenny, or not, but that's where we are. There's Rick Sherlock. Good evening, Rick. Good to have you with us tonight. Good to have all of you with us, Alan, Kenny, anybody else who might pop in here as we go along. Let me catch up on some comments. Yep, there we go. So you did it again. I don't think they're necessarily on probation. I think there's a gestation period. What a horrible word to use in this situation. But there's a period where you have to gain eligibility. There's a 4-year process of reclassifying from Division I or Division II to Division I. So that's it. I guess we can call it probation, but probation brings about with it, thoughts of wrongdoing. So we don't want to certainly say that. Jacksonville State got the bid. That's what we were just talking about. So thank you for being on there. I know, right? That's all right, Alan. Great mind thinks alike. Great minds think a lot. I swear to God, I have these days where I just cannot speak. So I got a bad throat today too, guys. So sorry about the throat lodging. What else we got here? What else you guys got for me? Sister Jean. I think that is her name, Rick. I think it's Sister Jean. Yes, she's 103 years old now. She was, I think, 99. I'm trying. It's been 4 or 5 years, I think. Not maybe 4 years ago. Loyola went to the Final Four with Porter Mosier as her coach, and Sister Jean was there on the sideline every step of the way, and she still is there at every Rambler game. And I think it's the coolest thing. Yeah. Kenny says, yes, it's the stupidest rule ever, except making bases bigger. Well, we'll be diving in. I don't want to take away from my NCAA show here, but we'll be diving into all of that nonsense. If not, I may get into it with Carlos Friday. I don't know. But Sunday, I can guarantee you we'll be ranting on this Major League Baseball nonsense. And I don't want to get into it tonight. I'm definitely probably going to do a vlog either on that or the NFL quarterback situation. So our shows Friday and Sunday will be packed full of stuff, just like this one with NCAA basketball. What else, guys? So that's the teams that are in, and we've got a whole bunch of tournament action getting started here. As I said, let's just take a quick look through their scoreboard, see if anything is getting close. I'm waiting on the St. John's DePaul game here on FS1, the Big East tournament. I'd like to see, actually, let me take a gander here. Let's see when our local teams are playing. Not that anybody across the country really cares, but take a quick look at. So tonight, in the MAC, it's just Iona and Ryder and St. Peter's, who's had a very good year in the conference, 14-6 in the MAC. Will be playing Fairfield tonight. Siena does not play until tomorrow night. They play Quinnipiac, and Monmouth will play Niagara, and then we will get into, I believe, don't know, don't have anything scheduled past today. Did I go too far ahead? Oh, there we go. So anyway, it'll be very interesting. It's a shame they moved the MAC tournament out of Albany here. I don't know what they're doing in Atlantic City as far as crowds, but the MAC here did very well when they were at the Pepsi, the Times Union, whatever incarnation our local venue was being called at the time. The MAC always did very, very well here, and it's a shame that they've moved this thing out of Albany to go elsewhere. Yeah. So, we got to have Perth references pretty much every show I do, and tonight's will be Sister Jean graduated with Mrs. Ohlendorf. And if you're watching Mrs. Ohlendorf, we love you. And, if you're not with us anymore, we're sorry, and we hope you rest in peace. I guess that was a pretty bad exchange there. Oh, yeah, I know. You see, you can't play a shift to stop a good shooter. Kenny, we're going to get into that. I promise you this weekend. I am livid over a lot of this stuff. Let's take a quick look as we wait for some of these other games to kind of move forward. We're going to jump around these tournaments, and we're going to take a look at who's playing who in a second. Let's take a quick look through the top 25 rankings that came out this past week on Monday. The AP is what we've been following. Again, Gonzaga stays number 1. Arizona stays number 2. Baylor stays number 3. No big changes there. All three of those teams are likely to get number 1 seeds, depending on Baylor. Baylor can't go out early in the Big 12. And then you got a kind of a battle between Auburn and Kentucky and Kansas. And even Duke still alive. Maybe Villanova still alive, depending on what happens in some other tournaments. Even Tennessee could potentially jump up and get a number 1 seed here. There's one, maybe even 2 that might be open, depending on what happens in different tournaments. Auburn moved up into the 4th spot in the AP poll, moved up 1 spot. Kentucky moved up 2 to number 5. Kansas stays flat at 6. Duke falls 3 after losing in Coach K's last home game at Cameron last weekend. Very emotional night at Duke. And I talked about this Sunday, and it really appeared that this young Duke team was not, the moment was too big for them. And there was just too much going on for them to be able to kind of focus on the job at hand. And I wonder what's going to happen. It'd be a great story if Duke could go on a run. Maybe you don't think so if you're a Duke hater. But I think it would be a great story if Duke went on a run in Coach K's last hurrah in the NCAA tournament. I'm not sure that they can do it, though, because if this moment was too big for them, what's going to happen when they get in that type of moment in this tournament? At some point in time, could happen early. It could happen when they have some adversity, struggling against a 15 or a 14 or a 16, whatever it might be. It's going to be very interesting to see how this young Duke team reacts. Where else are we? Villanova up 3 spots to number 8. Again, winning the Big East tournament could potentially put Villanova in a very, very strong position for a number 1 seed, depending on what happens with Baylor. I think Gonzaga and Arizona are solid. Baylor probably got to do a little work. Auburn got to do a little work. Kentucky's got to do a little work. Everybody else does. So I think you can go all the way down to Tennessee at number 9 to find teams that have a shot at number 1 seeds this weekend. After Villanova, Tennessee, another big move for them, up 4 spots to number 9, as I mentioned. Purdue drops 1 down to 10. Purdue is going to be an interesting team. Watch what they do in this Big Ten tournament, because I think it may be a precursor of what you're going to see in the NCAA tournament. Lots of struggles on defense for this team, which is not their MO. Through the years, as I've said a few times now on this show, defense has been their moniker. And, they've been a plotting offense, and now they've got two big guys and they can put the ball in the basket, and they're having trouble stopping the other team from doing just that. I'll grab some comments here in a second as well. And guys, if anybody wants to call and chat for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever on a topic, feel free to give me a call. Just make sure it's NCAA basketball related or maybe football later on. Providence drops 2 to number 11. Wisconsin, there was talk about Wisconsin getting the number 1 seed, but they've fallen back to 12. This Big Ten tournament's going to be something, I'll tell you. UCLA up 4 to number 13. I still have UCLA in my top 16 seeds. I have them at a 4 right now. And look, they win the Pac-12. This team could go as high as a 3. I don't think they can get to a 2, but this is a team to watch out for. They're getting healthy at the right time. They went through some down times, and I think Mitch Cronin's got this team ready to roll as they hit the Pac-12 tournament and then the big dance. Texas Tech, Allen fading. The Big 12 has had some struggles other than Baylor getting hot here at the end, getting healthier and getting hotter. The Big 12 has struggled a bit down the stretch. Kansas had some travails, losing to TCU, almost losing to them a second time within a few days last week. Texas Tech not playing well. Texas up and down. We'll talk more about that conference in a little bit, but again, not looking as strong as I thought a while ago. I still have Arkansas, who's number 15 in my top 16. They did lose to a red-hot Tennessee team this weekend, but I don't think that's a bad loss at all. They do drop 1 spot in this ranking, and I do still have them in my top 16 seeds. Illinois moves up 4 spots. Bruce Underwood's Illinois team moves up to number 16. St. Mary's had moved all the way up to 17. They did lose to Gonzaga in the championship game of the WCC the other night, and they're still going to get a bid. Again, I do see the WCC probably getting 3 bids. Now it comes down to whether San Francisco or Santa Clara gets that 3rd bid. I still think it's going to be the Dons in San Francisco. Houston has dropped back to number 16. They're kind of, they've been in a rough stretch here too, and the AAC is probably going to get 3 bids, SMU, Memphis, and Houston. But all of a sudden, I think Memphis is the best team in that conference. I've been high on Houston much of the season, but I think Memphis, I go back to Memphis State days, may be the best team in that country. And Penny Hardaway, who I've been tough on, the press has been tough on, the rest of the press, because I guess I'm part of the press. It does make me laugh. I think Penny Hardaway might be the coach of the year in the AAC. He's righted the ship there after some tough, heavy seas for a year and a half. Where else? Murray State, as I mentioned earlier, number 19. UConn with a tough week. They fall to number 20, but watch out for UConn. I still have UConn ending up with a 4 seed. So let's don't sleep on UConn. Danny Hurley's a good coach, and this team has the ability to put a run together as well. First job is to put a run together in the Big East tournament, though. USC continues to kind of free fall a little bit. They're down to 21 now. They dropped 5 spots this last week. Texas, 21-10. Colorado State moves into the top 25. Colorado State out of the Mountain West. Mountain West is sneaky good. Iowa, who's been on a roll, they stay at number 24 in the Big Ten. They get hot at the right time, but again, I'm not sure they can stop teams enough to win any games. And then North Carolina, for the first time, I think, since early in the season, cracks the top 25. And watch out. I've been talking about North Carolina and how I didn't think they had that signature win that was going to, catapult them through the postseason here. But now they've got it. They beat Coach K in his last game in Cameron. So let's see what we got here. Alan, sorry to be off topic, but bipolar Oklahoma this week is insane. Snow Friday, Well, we like to talk about the weather, so that's fine. Snow Friday and 70s next Wednesday. You guys in Oklahoma, man, it's either a dust bowl or tornadoes, or there's always something. And now you're getting snowstorms. Well, stay safe, Alan. Well, we're still on the weather. That's okay. Well, we had some heavy winds, right? Kenny, geez, here too. I sat here the other day at work and thinking the tree in the front yard was going to snap in half, and it's a big baby. So it didn't, thank God. But I hope the damage, your big trees didn't do any damage, Kenny. Alan, Kansas. So, yeah, let's take a look here. This is the first round matchups, Kansas versus the winner of KSU and West Virginia, which we talked about earlier. Let's take a quick look at that since we're talking about it, Alan. See where those teams are right now. I got to get the right mouse. All right. Well, I guess I got to get to the right division here, the right conference. Real quick update on that West Virginia game. I bet Kansas State, and West Virginia's up 26-23. I'm giving one at home. Well, I guess it's not at home, right? That game is being played at where? My scoreboard does not tell me. We'll have to look at that when we look at something else. Anyway, Baylor will play Oklahoma. And, Oklahoma could be a live dog there, Alan. I don't know. Texas versus TCU. Texas better not sleep on TCU. Jamie Dixon has TCU playing really good basketball. And then Texas Tech versus Iowa State. Iowa State still is mentioned by a lot of people as being on the bubble. I'm not really sure how that can be. Sorry about that. Hold on, guys. Let's mute this. I don't know how I got into the college football rankings here. It's very interesting. Right now, Lenardi's first four, last four, all that happy nonsense. He does not have. Let's see if he's got Iowa State in this crowd. He does. No, he does not. He does. He has Iowa State in at a 9 seed. Now, this is before any of the tournament games, obviously. Let's take a quick look. I know maybe it's me. I'm still not getting the whole Iowa State thing. I do know they got some big wins. Where are they? Big 12. Come on, Big 12. Where are you? Iowa State, 7-11. I can't get past the 7-11 in the conference, okay? Oklahoma State's got a better record. They're 20-11 overall. They got a few good quad one wins, but I don't see them as a number 9 seed. Bubble team at best. Kenny wants Purdue to lose in the second round and drop to an 11 seed and then make a run in the show. Well, stranger things have happened. I did talk about San Francisco Dons, Bill Russell's home school. Very good call. San Francisco was a dominant program in the late 50s, mid to late 50s. Well, I guess it was maybe the mid 50s. Pete Newell, I think, was the head coach. And Bill Russell was the center who led them to national championships. All right, Kenny, glad you're feeling better, and get your medicine in you and have a good night, buddy. All right, where else was I? Where was I? Bracketology. Let's look at some of these other. What else Lenardi's got going on here? And then we're going to take a look at some of the conference possibilities. Last 4 buys. We're going to move this a little bit. Bear with me. Here's our bubble watch and some bracketology. Wake Forest. Last 4 buys for Joe Lenardi. Wake Forest, today's going to hurt them. They could end up in the last 4 in and end up playing in the first 4, basically that play-in portion of the tournament. Creighton. I think their first round game in the Big East is going to be very important. Memphis, I said, red hot in the AAC, excuse me, and I think they're definitely in the tournament, and they could probably improve their standing past this if they were to win the postseason tournament. And Michigan right now is the last 4 buys. The last 4 teams in the tournament. This is before Xavier just lost, so I'm going to say Xavier's out. Lenardi's got them the last 4 in. I'm saying they're out. Wyoming, Rutgers, and SMU. SMU, again, better not go out in the first round of that AAC tournament. Damn it. First 4 out, Indiana can play their way in the tournament, in the Big Ten tournament, I'm sure. They do break my under 500 record in conference rule, so I don't think they're going to get in, but they could play their way in based on other people's standards. Here's my normal East Greenbush Police update. BYU last 4 out. Dayton last 4 out. Dayton could play their way in the A10, I think, whether it be an automatic bid, because they could win this tournament. They're good enough, and I think that league is wide open for somebody to maybe upset the favored Davidson team, and Virginia Tech from the AAC, the ACC this time, Keith. And the next 4 out were Virginia, VCU, which I think can play their way in as well in the A10, and Florida with a chance to play their way in maybe in the SEC, and then Texas A&M. The number 1 seeds right now, Gonzaga. This is Joe Lenardi's. Gonzaga, Baylor, Arizona, and Kansas. I'm going to dispute that just a little bit. I'm going to keep, right now, this is just today, I'm going to keep Baylor and Gonzaga in there, but I'm going to take Kansas out and put Auburn in. I think Auburn's deserved a chance to move back up here. Got a couple of comments here. There's Rick saying goodbye to Kenny. Kansas City, that's where the tournament's being played for the Big 12. Thank you, Mr. Ombudsman there. Does Michigan need to win their tournament to make the NCAA tournament? I don't think they need to win, Rick. If they did win, obviously, they would certainly improve their seed. I think, let me just take a quick look at the standings while we talk about this. The Big Ten. Right now, Michigan finishes the regular season 11-9, 2 games ahead of Indiana, 17-13 overall. I think if Michigan avoids a first-round upset, I think they're in. They could end up in the first 4 matchups again if they were to go out early, but I think they're in the tournament, barring a first-round collapse. I think they're in the tournament, and I think the Big Ten comes away with 2, 4, 6, 8 bids, maybe 9 if Indiana finds a way to get hot. Oklahoma has a better conference record than who? I think we're talking about Iowa State. Iowa State and Oklahoma have the same conference record, 7-11. Iowa State, I'm not taking either one of those teams, but Lenardi knows more than I do. He's got them in. Good evening, Dan Harris. How are you, my boy from the UK across the pond, stopping in to check out a little college basketball tonight? A little late over there, Alan. I guess it's probably about 12:30 a.m., if I'm doing my math right, in the UK. So hope you're doing well. We'll be on with Dan Sunday to talk all about some of these interesting quarterback moves, I'm sure, how it affects the Jets and the Giants, and let's talk New York sports. So, guys, join me. Dan Harris has got a great show. Let's Talk Sports. Again, he's based in the UK, and he's got a ton of different shows. I co-host a show called Let's Talk New York Sports, which is interesting when we start talking Giants and Jets, which I'm not a fan of, and I'm a Patriot fan. So we do sneak some Patriot talk in there. But join us Fridays at 2:00 Eastern Standard Time, live on Roku and live here on Facebook and wherever else Dan may share the show. But he's got a ton of other shows, guys. He's got shows about football. He's got shows about baseball. He's got shows about cricket and soccer and everything else you can think of. Dan is a very, very well-rounded guy, and he knows his sports here in the U.S. too, let me tell you. Let's see. What do you got here? Just call it the American instead of the AAC, right? I mean, good grief, man. Thank you, Alan. I try to use the acronyms they like to use, but I had it down good during football. But football, you only got to look at, 11 conferences. Here, there's 32, and it gets really hard. All right. So anyway, where was I? Bracketology. Who else is on the bubble? Let's go around some of the leagues. Let's go around some of the leagues and see what's going on. And then we're going to talk more of the tournaments. We'll get more into the scores. Let's take a look around. So again, what do we got here? This is going to be a wild month, guys. I think this is going to be crazy. The Big Ten's got a bubble. We talked about Michigan already. I do think they'll be in. But Indiana needs to play their way in, and they get Michigan, I believe, in the second round tomorrow at noontime or so in Indianapolis. And that's going to be a big game in the Big Ten. So, to Rick's question earlier about Michigan being in, I do think they're in, barring this is their first game. So I said a first round loss. This would be what I'm talking about. So that's a big moment. A lot of suspense in the Big East, right? Because you still got the top spot. Villanova and Providence have been the best two teams in the conference for most of the year. UConn's played pretty good basketball. Question is Seton Hall going to sneak their way in the tournament? I think Xavier played their way out today. Seton Hall gets a break because they're going to get Georgetown to get in the field. And Georgetown's another story. How they're going to keep Patrick Ewing around is beyond me. But Xavier played Butler today, and to me, their chances for this tournament just went down. The Atlantic 10, we talked about having some high hopes. VCU looks good in some of the different computer rankings and whatnot, strength of schedule and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see who gets in besides Davidson. I do believe Dayton's got a shot, obviously. VCU's got a shot. St. Bonaventure maybe has an outside shot, might have to win a tournament to get in, and we'll see how that goes. What are some of the other storylines here in the conference tournaments? And I guess I should go back. I know, yeah, I'm all over the place here. The last chances in the American. We talked about SMU being one of the last teams in. Now they can't afford to go out early in this tournament. Houston's definitely in. They did win 3 out of 4 against Houston and Memphis. 3 of the 4 games they played against those two. But they're still kind of, on the edge of the seeds or the bubble. So they got to get in, and they got to beat Wichita State in the first round to kind of assure that they get in this tournament, I think. And then how safe are those 4 Mountain West seeds that we talked about, or bids that we talked about? I think Wyoming's certainly in. Colorado State has played their way in. Boise State and San Diego State, I think both are deserving of bids. But again, none of them, as we talk about with all these conferences, there's a lot of bubble. There's a lot of teams that could go, their bubble could burst, or they could make a run here at the tournament based on making a run in their own conference tournament. But you can't lose in the first round of these things and really let that bubble go out early. What do you got here? Need to have an all East show. Bring my Cowboys knowledge in. Well, talk. You know what? Something to talk about with Dan Harris. He's always looking for people to contribute. I can tell you right now, Alan. My plate's a little full now. I don't know if I can stomach talking about the Cowboys more than I do. Are there enough of us on Wednesday night to have a bracket pool? I was going to set one up. Rick, and I still might. I used to run one at work all the time, and we'd get 100 people in. What I will do, Rick, is I got to find out. I usually get in one that I don't know. I don't know how I got in. I've been in about 10 years now. But I'll send you the link to it when we have it. And I think that's probably a better way to go rather than having maybe I'll start a TGI Sports one as well. But if you want to make some real money, I'll send you the link to this other one. And it's very well run. And they get a lot of entries, and it's a lot of fun. But I'll certainly send that to you. Well, all right, let's jump around this. Let's jump around some of these conferences. So the ACC, who's in? Who's locked? Duke's locked. Wake Forest, I still think they're locked in. Bad loss today to Boston College, as I mentioned, a very mediocre Boston College team. Not a good way to finish up their resume going out in the first round of the ACC tournament. Some work to do. Miami, the old Hurricanes, the U. I think they're probably going to get in. They still got a little bit of work to do. Again, this is a team that should be careful about going out early in their tournament. They do have a signature win against Duke, but they've got enough bad losses that this team is, on the bubble at best. Don't go out early. I think they'll get in. Notre Dame, I think, is in. Virginia Tech, solidly on the bubble at best. I don't think this team has got the resume to get in. I think the ACC, as I mentioned a few times, North Carolina is definitely in as well, I think now. I don't think Wake Forest needs to worry, as I said. So that would give the ACC, as again, 4 seeds, maybe 5. Don't think they're going above that. That's probably 3 more bids than I thought they were going to get 2 months ago. I can tell you right now. I do know they're saying Notre Dame's not in. Right now, I would say they're not in. I think they need to win a game or 2 here for sure, Rick, to have a chance. But they're going to have to play their way in this tournament. Let's see. Let's just see what Lenardi's got, shall we? Joe Lenardi, again, who I call I think he's the guru here when it comes to bracketology. He's got Notre Dame in as a 10 seed right now. Just an FYI. Take it for what it's worth. Big 12. Alan wants to talk about this one, I know. Who's locked? Kansas is locked in. Baylor's locked in. 2 potential number 1 seeds. Texas Tech's locked in, even though they're fading. Texas is locked. Lenardi's got Iowa State again as a lock, and I just don't get it. I think Iowa State, gosh, they're a bubble team at best. I don't understand how these teams at 7-11 in their conferences can, okay, the ACC's down this year, but there's better teams with better conference record and better overall records than Iowa State. And sometimes the eye test is what matters, and we get too wrapped up in these quad 1 wins and strength of schedule and things that are just too complicated for people. Give me the eye test. By the way, St. John's has fallen behind 12-2 to 10th seeded DePaul in the Big East tournament. Not a good start for the Red Storm, formerly the Redmen, which we can't say that. TCU could win the tournament if the teams aren't careful. You know what? TCU is a well-coached. Jamie Dixon's a very underrated coach. Did great work at Pittsburgh. You see how they fell off the map when Jamie Dixon left. He had that team, playing very well before he left for his alma mater. I believe TCU is his alma mater. He's had a couple of good teams here. He's had a couple of down years. But TCU's had a very, very good season this year. They could make a run through the Big 12 this year. Very possible after the last 2 games they played against Kansas. They beat them 1 game and lost by 4 at Kansas just a few days later. So I think TCU is in right now, and work to do. He's got Oklahoma, Allen, still with a chance to get in. I don't think that's possible, but we'll see. Don't be surprised if Oklahoma gives Baylor all they can handle in their game. I think I did say that they could do that. But Baylor's getting healthy right now, and it's going to be very difficult, I think, for Oklahoma here, given the struggles they've had. They played a little bit better of late in the conference to get to 7-11. And again, this is a team to watch out for in the coming years, because Porter Moser is a tremendous basketball coach, and he's got the resources now to really put together, a team that can win consistently, I think, throughout the college basketball season. Maybe Mancini can put Pitt back on the map. Look, I don't think anybody can put Pitt back on the map. Jeff Capel's going to get fired most likely this year. He's done nothing. They've regressed since he got there. He was a big hire. Jeff Capel, who played his college basketball at Duke. His father was a really good coach. I want to say at Old Dominion. I could be wrong there, but I think it was at Old Dominion. Jeff Capel went on to coach Oklahoma, who we've been talking a lot about. Had some moderate success there. Alan can probably speak to that better than I can off the top of my head without doing a little research. But Jeff Capel was a very capable coach for a few years at that's hard to say. Jeff Capel was a very capable coach at Oklahoma for a few years before they fell on some harder times. He was fired, and he was, he brought great hope to Pittsburgh, and it just didn't work out. Mancini's too busy worrying about the Steelers will have a quarterback. Wrong show, but I certainly understand the sentiment, Alan. And we'll be talking a lot about all this musical chairs in the NFL here this coming week, either on Friday or Sunday or both. Where were we? The Big East I was on. Big East. Locks. Villanova's in. Still would have shot a number 1 seed in my mind. Providence. We're going to find out probably pretty soon whether this team is as lucky as some people like to portray them, or if they're a really good basketball team, and all the close games that they played this year are going to that's something that could really steal a team as they get into the NCAA tournament. Having played so many tight games, big games, I think will serve Providence very well once we get into both the Big East tournament and the big dance, as it were. UConn's definitely in. Seton Hall, I think they're probably a lock. Maybe, again, don't lose in the first round. Marquette, I think they're a lock. Don't lose in the first round. Creighton should be in. Work to do. Forget it. Xavier's done. So that's your teams from the Big East. Is there anybody else that's got a shot there? I don't think so. No. I mean, again, you could have a surprise. Well, before I saw this start against DePaul, I would have said St. John's could make a run through this tournament. Not going to happen, most likely. I mean, you can see, talking about some of the the leagues we've already talked about, just to back up a little bit. The AAC is you could have SMU could win that tournament. I think Memphis will win that tournament. But you could have upsets here in the A10. You could have upsets in the American. Thank you, Alan. In the ACC, you could get an outsider. Who knows? Does Syracuse make a run through this tournament? I doubt it. But again, these leagues, some of these leagues are wide open for some of these teams that are, mid-level at best, like a Syracuse, like a Virginia Tech, like a Miami, to make a run through the tournament and have potentially, steal a bit away from somebody else. Capel wasn't bad. I do think Blake Griffin played for. Did he play for Blake Griffin? I don't know. I thought he played for Lon Kruger, but I can't be sure. It's been a while. Time in my mind is not a good thing. I mean, things I think happened, a year or two ago happened 10 years ago. UConn, is going to have a shot. I think let's see, where did I leave off there? Sorry, lost my train of thought. Oh gosh, where was I? Yeah, UConn's in. UConn's definitely in the tournament. I think played well enough. Again, a team that could do some damage. They got good guard play. Got a local boy in Jackson. I think he's a guard, right, Rick? He can do some damage on given night. And Danny Hurley puts a really solid competitive team on the floor all the time. Don't forget, Danny Hurley did some damage in the NCAA tournament with some very mediocre Rhode Island teams. That's how he got this gig in the first place. UConn could definitely win the Big East if they play their best ball. I can see, again, Villanova could win that conference tournament. Providence could win. UConn could win. Seton Hall and Marquette could get hot and win that. So you got to watch out for all of these. Well, here's the thing, Rick. We were talking about this before. Is Buddy Boeheim suspended? Do we know what happened there? Give us some insight, Rick. I did not get a chance to see the end of this game. I was in some meetings. I had watched some of the dismantling that they'd put on Florida State, but I did not catch what happened at the end of this game. And Kenny alluded to the fact that there was kind of a Michigan situation at the end. I know Buddy, I saw a picture of him, what appeared to be a punch to the stomach to a Florida State player, but give us some input there. He was gone before Kruger got there? Okay. Talking about Blake Griffin. Yeah, Alan Jackson. Alan Jackson, who is a great country star and also a guard for Connecticut now. Sorry, Andre Jackson. Here's a good question for me. Who has a chance to get the upset bid by winning their tournament? All right. Let me give you, I'll give you a couple that I like that are still to be played. We're talking about the big conferences. I don't know how deep you want to go into this, Alan. But here we go. I'll give you one local here. Siena has got a chance in the MAC. They've already beaten Iona once. This will be a much better event or a possible event if they were playing here on their own court, but they're not. But that probably wouldn't cost Iona a seed or a bid. So I think, I guess you're not really saying it's got to knock somebody out. Who else? St. Bonaventure. It's another one that I would give you as a dark horse. They probably got to win their tournament to get in. I can't pick anybody in the Big 12. The Big East, I don't think there's anybody that, again, if I was going to give you somebody, it would be St. John's to make a run. They've closed the gap here, by the way, to 12-10. St. John's has got the talent to make a run through the Big East. They just can't put it together. Who else can I say? Hey, Big Ten. Well, they're going to be in, so I'm not going to say that. Indiana, again, anything could happen. I don't think Indiana's got enough to run through that conference. What else? Who else? I gave you a couple already. St. Bonaventure would be a good one for me. And that's giving a tip to the nod to one of our the favorites of our TGI Sports Talk family, Mike Vaccaro of the New York Post, who's a St. Bonaventure alumni. Let's see. How about out west in the Mountain West? Vegas could get hot and make a run through the Mountain West and really make a mess of that. Who else? Pac-12, I don't see anything happening there. But, look at maybe a team like Colorado gets hot. I think UCLA wins that tournament, by the way. I think UCLA is playing great basketball, and I think UCLA is going to get the automatic bid. I think UCLA is going to get at least a 3 seed. If not, and they could jump up to a 2, depending on what happens in some other tournaments. But watch out for UCLA come the NCAA tournament. We'll talk more about that as we go through the weekend and get closer to the picks. SEC, anybody there? No, LSU's in big trouble. The NCAA is breathing down their neck now, and we'll talk a little about that in a second if we have some time. So, Alan, you can give me somebody if you want. Rick, you can give me somebody if you want. Some of these conferences that could throw a monkey wrench into things. Somebody in the Western Athletic Conference could, that's probably going to be a one-bid league, but you could see a Grand Canyon walking through that tournament and possibly winning. So there's a few opportunities for you. So Rick's saying Buddy Boeheim will be. He punched another player in the stomach, not an accident as his father claims. I'll have to watch the video. In fact, I'm going to pull it up right now as we speak. Somebody tell a story. Let me check the videotape. If we got video of this, here we go. Let me check this out. I'll give you my opinion here as live on the air. Can I pull this up? Are you going to give it to me? Here we go. Let me watch this. There's no video to this. That's all still. Let me try this, Rick. Hang on a second. I need some sound. All right, let me look at it again. I see them fighting for position. I've got it stopped. Oh, yeah. He definitely took a swing at him. I think the guy did a pretty good job of acting. Let me see this again, how hard he hits him. I got to tell you. I mean, that's a pretty good forearm shiver here. But I think 31, the kid from Florida State, I think does a pretty good job of acting here, Rick. I don't know. I mean, the intent was there. He didn't hit him that hard. He'll probably will. He gets suspended. Syracuse is done, obviously. But that's very interesting. That's a good pick. I kind of jumped over that one because I figured you'd pick it, Alan. But TCU is certainly a live dog to win that Big 12 tournament. Let's run through some of these other conferences real quick. Oh, where was I? Big 10. We know who's in. Purdue, Wisconsin, Illinois, Ohio State, Iowa, Michigan State has rebounded a little bit. Tom Izzo, by the way, becomes the winningest coach in Big 10 history with 663 wins, eclipsing Bobby Knight. What a career. He joined Michigan State in 1983, coaching under the legendary Judd Heathcote. Was an assistant on a team with Magic Johnson that won the NCAA tournament. No, he wasn't. I'm sorry. He was not with Michigan State yet. Sorry about that. He was not there. He became the head coach in 1995. But he has now won 3 Big Ten conferences. He's been to 10 Final Fours, if I'm reading this right. I had a few other notes here. There we go. 1 NCAA championship, 8 Final Fours, 23 straight winning seasons, and 3 Big Ten Coach of the Years for Tom Izzo. One of the greats in the game and a great tournament coach. Don't sleep on Michigan State when this tournament starts, because he could surprise. This team could surprise and make a run. As they played a little bit better basketball here recently. Probably with some work to do. Michigan, as we mentioned, don't lose in the first round. Rutgers don't lose in the first round. Indiana may need to get to the final, may need to win it to get in. I would say they need to get to the final probably to get in. Pac-12, Arizona's a lock. UCLA, I've already talked a lot about. USC is going to get in. USC could be a first-round exit. They've just not played well here recently. And that's it. Nobody else gets in for them. The SEC, bunch of locks here. Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, LSU, playing bad basketball. NCAA, bearing down on them for some violation during Wade's tenure there. Not a good situation for LSU, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. Arkansas, who is my dark horse, as we all know, had a tough loss last weekend at Tennessee by 2 points. Does not hurt this team, I don't think, at all. I do think it's a number 4 seed, and I think they will still do some damage both in their own tournament and in the NCAAs. Work to do there. Florida, I think Florida wins a couple games. They got a chance to get in. Texas A&M, they're going to need to get to the final, in my mind. The American, Lenardi's only got Houston as a lock. I'm telling you, Memphis is a lock. They've already beat Houston twice, solidly. I think Penny Hardaway's the coach of the year there, as I've talked about. And I also think SMU gets in as long as they don't falter in the first round. Where else? Here's some guys with here's some locks of others, right? Gonzaga, we already know is in. St. Mary's in. Mary State's in. Colorado State at the Mountain West, I think, is in. Boise's in. We've already got Loyola Chicago in. We've already got South Dakota State. I do think Davidson is in, no matter if they win the A-10 or not. So some work to do, though, for maybe VCU, maybe Dayton. St. Bonaventure likely got to get to the final, maybe needs to win the conference tournament to get in. San Diego State, don't lose in the first round. San Francisco, as we talked about earlier, I think they did enough to get in the tournament. We'll see. I think Lenardi has them in right now. Wyoming, definitely, I think, with some work to do. But again, maybe just a win or two in that Mountain West will get their 4 bids. North Texas has probably got to win their tournament. BYU needs probably a really good run as well. And I'm not sure that they've got the I don't think they've got a way to get in after losing to San Francisco in the first round of that tournament, or that's quarterfinals of that tournament. VCU, we talked about. Dayton, we talked about. So some interesting stuff going on here, guys. We've been jumping around, looking at the tournaments, looking at some of the bubble information. What else is going on? Let me take a look at the news. Maybe we'll jump into some football too. I don't know. Let's look at let's see. 42-40 is that West Virginia over Kansas State right now. Let's take a look elsewhere and see what's going on. St. John's has taken a lead over DePaul 19-17 after getting behind 12-2. So a nice run by the Johnnies. Anything else going on of note that we want to talk about, guys? Well, I'm looking at the scoreboard, see if anything we need to report. Vermont pulling away from Binghamton, 44-33. It's important to us here in the Northeast. Virginia Tech pulling away from Clemson, 46-32. Iona with a tough first half, 30-28 against Rider. Iona loses to Rider. They're probably not getting an at-large. Iona loses in the championship game in the MAC. They most likely get an at-large. And I want to talk about Rick Pitino, too, if we got time before we go. We're going to have a little time for some of these stories. I want to talk about Pitino before we sign off tonight. Let's see. What else is going on anywhere? Put a couple comments up while I'm doing this, guys. And we talked about Syracuse. Yeah, Rick, I'd love your opinion. I mean, watch that video again. I mean, Boeheim does give him a forearm shiver to the midsection, but that kid does a great job of acting. I almost think when they look at this video, they may let it pass. I don't really know. It certainly was not an accident. No, he definitely meant to do what he did. When you watch it, does it look like he was trying to inflict damage? No, because it looks like he kind of holds back. I'll watch it again a few times. So I watched it twice live here. Well, on live. The video wasn't. We talked about that game. We talked about Stanford. We already talked about that. Rhode Island gets a win over Duquesne. Utah State over Oregon. Missouri, we talked about. That's it for now, guys. So that's all the scores for now. Let's talk about some of the other stories. I talked a little bit about Let me go to this story about LSU. And I think I got a banner for this. LSU, they're in the hit crosshairs right now of, and of course the story is gone. I wanted to find it and the damn thing's gone. Of course the story's gone now. Man, it really ticks me off, man. I needed to get to this story and it's gone on me. LSU, anyway, is being looked at by the NCAA. They've been given a notice of allegations and they're going to be investigated in full. LSU's football and basketball program under some heavy scrutiny. Brian Kelly may have gotten himself into a mess down there with the football team. Who knows what? There's still some snooping around by the NCAA about some things that went on under Ed Orgeron there. So, he may be sorry he made that jump. But now the basketball team, which got off to a great start this year and has faded recently, is being investigated by the NCAA for some infractions under Coach Wade. I think a couple of years ago now. Let's just see what I can find here for you guys. Okay. LSU received notice of allegations tied to the basketball program and Coach Will Wade. Part of the independent accountability resolution process. The NCAA's got all these fancy terms for investigations. Maybe they ought to investigate themselves once in a while, and they might do better off. Mostly they're talking about institutional control, basically, I think, and really no specific allegations that I'm seeing here, but they are certainly putting Coach Will Wade directly in the crosshairs. He was suspended from the SEC and the NCAA tournaments back in March of 2019 after Yahoo Sports reported that Wade was in a wiretap and about a strong ass offer to a recruit. The FBI has been all over these coaches, mostly assistant coaches, but there's been some head coaches get caught up in this. Sean Miller out in Arizona, Rick Pitino at Louisville, Bill Self survived it at Kansas, but the FBI has been investigating a lot of these programs. And you know what? It's one thing to have the NCAA investigating you. It's another thing when you got the FBI breathing down your neck. So LSU and Coach Will Wade are probably Will Wade's. I don't think is going to survive this. I just don't think he is. So we'll see what happens there. We talked a little bit about Coach Tom Izzo, however you want to say it, making history. Again, congratulations, Coach Izzo, one of the greats in the game of basketball. As I said, 8 Final Fours. Are you going to hold the fact that he's won only one national championship against him, making it to 8 Final Fours? I don't know. He's never really got the best players, but I think he does the best coaching of the teams that he's had in front of him of a lot of coaches in the country. He takes lesser talented guys and turns them into a team, or has in the past. He struggled a bit in the recent years, especially in the tournament. But there was a time, man, I'll tell you what, it wouldn't matter to me where Memphis State, where Michigan State was ranked, or where Michigan State got seeded. I would be all over Tom Izzo, and he'd be in my Final Four, whether he's a 1 seed or a 10 seed. And it was often a good way to go. So congratulations to him on setting the record now in the Big Ten and having the most wins in the country, in the Big Ten history, surpassing Bobby Knight. We got a couple of comments here I might have missed. Texas beats, TCU beats Texas in round 1, and they would probably play Kansas again. and probably Baylor in the final. It's a tough road for TCU to travel in a weekend, Alan. But again, this is why they call it March Madness. Anything can happen. Check out what I sent you. Edwin played for St. John's and won a ring with the Celtics. He played with Hondo, Pistol Pete. I think you sent this to me before, didn't you, Rick? Let me take a quick look here. Where'd you send it to me, by the way? Yeah, tell me where to look for it, Rick. Was it on Facebook or probably on Facebook, right? Let me pull up a Facebook. Crap, that's not going to work. Got to do it here. Bear with me while I pull a rabbit out of my ear. Pull a rabbit on my hat. See what Rick sent me here. See if I can share this if I need to. Come on. Check out the comments on Edwin's short time in the NBA. Edwin Searcy. I remember the name Edwin Searcy, yes. Played with, let's see. I had a short NBA career, yet while I was there, I played with both of them. And there's pictures of Maravich and Hondo, John Havlicek, both great college basketball players. Since we're talking about college basketball, great player. Maravich was a guard at LSU, led the country in scoring. By the way, I think 3 straight seasons. And you know, he certainly had a remarkable NBA career, and he certainly died way too young. I want to say I don't think he'd hit 50. And we know John Havlicek, you know, third-time All-Star. I'm looking at some of the stuff that is here. Great player at Ohio State, as we talk about the Big Ten and college basketball. Tremendous player. So anyway, we'll look at this a little deeper, Rick, but thanks for sharing that for sure. Remember, watch those teams as a kid. Good basketball to watch for sure. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The Michigan State teams, yeah, well, he won with, I mean, the team he won on didn't have guys that went on to tremendous NBA careers. I mean, it's not like Tom Izzo was cranking out tremendous NBA players. There's been some good players that have come out of that program, obviously. But no big stars have ever come out of that program, and that I can remember. And that's not a knock on Tom Izzo either. His job isn't to produce NBA players. It's to win games in the Big Ten and in the NCAA tournament. Draymond Green is definitely one of those guys, Alan. Very good call there. Probably, he may very well be the best player Tom Izzo put into the NBA in his career as well. I was trying to think of the guard's name that was the star on the championship team that he had. His name's eluding me right now, but again, he did not really make it in the NBA. He was too short. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, maybe he didn't play on a winning team. Now that I think about it, they may have lost to Florida in the final with the kid I'm thinking about, because he had an ankle injury, and that's probably why they lost to Florida and Billy Donovan that year. Good stuff, guys. One other note I want to make sure we don't run out of time on. Let me put this. Let me put this up here. Where's this? Did I not put a? Thought I put a banner together for this. There it is. Good news. You know, again, Dicky V, Dick Vitale. Great character. Great. Was he a great announcer? I don't know. He's great for college basketball. He's a great ambassador for college basketball. Dicky V has made a career. You know, he was a good college basketball coach at Detroit when they were, I think they're Detroit Mercy now, but they were an independent back in the days when Marquette was an independent, and he had really good teams. He had a couple really good teams in the mid 70s, I want to say, around the time Marquette and Al McGuire were playing really well, and he parlayed that into a job with the Pistons, and he washed out after about a season and a half, landed at ESPN on a whim, and the rest is history. Well, Dicky V's been under the weather But Dick Vitale wants us to know that he's doing better. He's been battling cancer, and he's now been declared cancer-free. I don't know that Dicky V did any college basketball games this year, and he expects to be back next year. I mean, Dick's not a young man; he's in his late 70s now, but he is a great ambassador for the game. Everything that, you talk about being excited watching, whether it's a Big Ten Classic matchup or an NCAA final or just two teams from Division III playing. I think Dicky V would have the same excitement level that he has for every game. And it's been a tremendous joy for me to watch him through the years. I still remember standing on his head. If you remember and this might have put Dicky V on the map. Back in early 80s, I don't know. When ESPN had gotten the rights to do the games, before CBS had, wall-to-wall coverage, ESPN had some of the early round games, and Dick Vitale was doing the games from the studio. And I don't remember who Austin Peay was playing, but it was a fairly big name in college basketball, and the name is escaping me. But he said at halftime, Austin Peay was giving his team a hard time. If Austin Peay wins this game, I will stand on my head on this table. And sure enough, Austin Peay wins, and they cut back to the studio, and it's a direct shot of Dicky V standing on his head. The most interesting thing I ever saw. So we're glad that Dick Vitale. I keep saying Dicky. I don't know. Dick Vitale's healthy, getting better, on the mend, and hopefully back calling basketball next year. By the way, I have talked to Dick Vitale about getting him on the show on TGI Sports Talk. Believe it or not, he's replied to me every time I've reached out to him. And, this wasn't a good circumstances weren't right. We reached out to him last year, and he had some things going on this year with health and whatnot. He was not able to come on, but he did promise me he would come on when he was able to do so. And I'm not going to bother him just now, but next year we'll certainly look to get Dick on. I hope to get Dick Weiss on, by the way. Dick Coops Weiss I hope to have on sometime during March Madness. Tiny Archibald, if you're talking about played for Michigan State, no. Tiny Archibald played for, I believe, Cincinnati. No, who did Tiny Archibald play for? He played for Cincinnati in the NBA. I want to say he went to, I feel like he went to like a 1AA school, Rick, or an NAIA school. Let's find out. Shall we? This is what we do on the show. We don't know the answer. We find out. Nate Tiny Archibald. You're probably posting this right now, right, Alan? College. Went to Western Arizona. Oh, UTEP. That's right. He went to Texas El Paso, Division I. Played for the great Don Haskins. Don Haskins, who won an NCAA championship in 1966, fielding the first all-black starting lineup, beating the lily white racist Adolph Rupp and the Kentucky Wildcats. So that's where Tiny Archibald went to school. He got there, I think, a year after that championship. I think he went there 67 to 70. Great player in the NBA and a very little man. And yes, Dick Vitale is cancer-free, and we're very, very happy to hear that. What else is going on, guys? What else you got? We got a few minutes to finish up here. Let me just see what else I got on my list. I wanted to jump into some coaching news, but I think that'll wait. We'll get into the coaching carousel, and there were some hires and some firings and whatnot recently, but I don't think we're going to jump into that tonight. Let's see what else we jump into. We can certainly talk more. Let's just see. Is there anything going on? How about college football, guys? Any news or notes or anything? Any comments that you guys have that are interesting? Or you're interested in sharing, I should say. Let me see if I can get the right. Let's take a quick look at some of the news in college football before we sign off. Right, the Max signed a new deal They signed a stats deal with gambling implications. I don't know what's going on there. Mac reaches stats partnership. Data could be sold to sports betting companies. We're heading down an awful path here with college sports, with pro sports, and the ties to these gambling outlets. Is it good for the public? Sure, everybody likes to gamble. I like to put a few bucks down on a game here and there, as I'm not afraid to admit. But these leagues getting into bed, there's trouble waiting to happen. We saw Calvin Ridley get suspended for the season next year because of gambling allegations. No quarterbacks in the first round. I don't know. We talked about this. I went back and forth with Alan today a little bit on some of the quarterback. I do think that there's a possibility Seattle takes Malik Willis in the first round now that they've moved on from Russell Wilson. I do not think Drew Lock is certainly the guy they've got their head around being their savior at quarterback. I think there's a very good possibility that he'll go in the first round. I do think Kenny Pickett will go in the first round, maybe later. The Steelers may be around to fall into Kenny Pickett. But they may be the only two guys. I don't see Ritter getting drafted in the first round. I don't see Strong getting drafted in the first round. So, and you know what, Rick? There is a possibility. I think it's remote, but I think there's a possibility there could be no first round pick of quarterbacks. I doubt it. But it will warrant seeing or monitoring. And certainly once we get past the March Madness here, we're going to be diving headlong into the draft, and we'll set up our mock draft here before the NFL does their picks. And again, this is a college show, and these kids are still college athletes until they get picked. So I think it's appropriate to do our mock draft on our college sports huddle. Let's see. What else did I want to talk about here? Talked about that. This is not what I wanted. Oh, yeah. So, by the way, that LSU story that I mentioned did carry over into the football team, too. If I wasn't clear on that, these notice of allegations are for with basketball and the football team. Harbaugh says he's going to win a national championship. Deion Sanders talked about how sick he was during all of last year, or most of last year. I didn't realize this. They showed pictures of him coaching basically from some kind of wheelchair apparatus. He said he had to have 2 toes amputated. So there was that kind of news. Baker Mayfield going to get a statue at Oklahoma. Did I miss the national championships that Baker Mayfield won at Oklahoma? Did I miss something, Alan? Hope you're still with us. Where did I miss? Baker Mayfield was a nice player. Once he transferred into Oklahoma, he only played 2 years. Did I miss all the national championships he won? I don't understand. Just not a big fan. We got the top 25s. I don't want to talk about that stuff. What else can we talk about? The playoffs dead. Gosh, get it out. Between the ACC, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, how are these teams voting against this playoff expansion? We're going to dive more into this too in coming weeks as well. So, Alan, this is your chance. If you want to speak up about, all those national championships that I missed out on Baker Mayfield, please let me know. Anyway, guys, that's a quick look at college football. We're gonna start to wrap it up here. I do appreciate you guys coming in. Rick, Alan, Kenny. Who else did I miss tonight? I know there was more of you here, and some, guys. I hope you, if you're putting comments up on some of the outlets that I don't see it, forgive me for not getting to you. I'm not ignoring you. But if you're not on the Facebook feed, I'm likely not going to see it. I do think I see the YouTube because I know that John DeLong comes in that way and some others, but there could be places I don't see it. But I want to thank you guys for for coming in every week and spending this hour and a half with me and spending 2 hours with me on Sunday or an hour with me on Friday and watching the vlogs. So thank you. Thank you for supporting TGI Sports Talk. Keep doing it. Invite your friends. Go to the site, click the 3 little buttons, and you're going to see invite friends. Invite them all. We want to get to 2,000. I want to get to 5,000. I want to get to 10,000 here. And also support Northeast Streaming Sports. And download the Northeast Streaming Sports app on Roku. That's all the advertising I got for tonight, guys. Got a great hour and a half. We're ready for some March Madness. Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talk. Have a great night. Enjoy those conference tournaments.